Hey awesome people of YouTube, welcome back to another Wartales video. In this one, I'll be going over your starting setup, which one is probably the best for newer players. But before we get into it, I just want to remind that if we can get to 500 subscribers, yes 500, by November 12th, which is just 2 days away, we'll be doing $25 gift card giveaway. With that said, let's get into it. And also another thing, I do stream Wartales down on Kick, so do check it out if you want to ask questions, learn some more, or just poke fun of me. But with that said, let's get into it. So, you're a new player coming to Wartales, you're brand new on PC, or more than likely a Game Pass player just like me. Start a new game, you're brought up to choose your destiny. There's 5 options for what your companions are, and some might seem great, some might seem not, but you don't know which ones. So let's start with number 5, and it is the least good for newer players is, well, young farmers. The reason why is you start with 1 brute, 2 spearmen, and an archer for your companions, and you start with 10 bread but minus 2 happiness. So it's definitely good for experienced players. It's a good challenge, but for newcomers, it'll be a bit difficult because the spearmen are not as good early game. They get better later game when they reach higher level, but early game they're just not as good, you know. And they're slower. They make your progress a bit slower. The 10 bread might be good, so you consume less food, but it's not that hard getting food early game. You can just get fishing and boom, you good. Right? Minus happiness is also a bit of hindrance as this affects your party motivation to move around the map, and they may need to rest more, to replenish that. So that's why it's not as good, because of like the spearman is not as good and the bonuses are not great. So let's look at number 4, which is your men escorting merchants who lost their floor. It's not as bad. Apologize, but you get 1 swordman, 1 warrior, 1 spearman, and 1 brute, right? You get 150 crowns and minus 2 medicine. 150 crowns is pretty good, just so you get a little bit more money early game is not bad, and it makes up for having minus 2 medicine. You can buy more than 2 medicine with that money. As for your classes, you'll be able to get a lot of damage because you have the swordman, warrior, and brute. You can customize them into a tank or just DPS. But your spearman will slow you down because, well, early game he's not as good, but he'll offer some defensive benefits. But he'll be a lot better in the later game. Another thing, you don't have any range. That's why it's number 4, because you don't have any range, right? Let's look at number 3, and it is bandits looking to escape the guard. Mind you, number 4 and number 3 you can interchange. Number 3, escaping or bandits looking to escape the guard. Right? It's not bad. You start off with 1 brute, 2 rangers, and an archer. Right? You also get 2 braised chicken, which is stolen, and 6 cloth, which is stolen. You might just, oh, it's great because you get more bonuses, but it's stolen items, so it's not as good, This provides you with a lot more damage output because you have the rangers, archer, and a brute if you want it. Since ranger can be equipped with like daggers at range level 2, it'd be a lot better. But it's not beneficial because you have the stolen items, so you can't sell them, can really use them as much. Right? That's why it's not as good. But also because you can't sell them, because if you try to, you'll be put on wanted level. However, since cloth can be harder, it might not be so bad. But again, you only have 1 person who is going to be more tanky, which is your brute, while ranger and archer will be a DPS. So it's not as bad, but it's not as good as the upcoming ones. Number 2 would be deserters fleeing an abusive captain. So here you start with 1 swordman, 1 warrior, 1 archer, and 1 ranger. Right? You also get 10 extra raw materials, but you get 50 suspicion penalty. This group is pretty well balanced since you can have your swordman and your warrior be tanky or slash DPS, however you want to build them. can build them like more mixed tank with a bit of damage. And you have your archer for decent range, so you can push enemies if need be and deal damage that way, and ranger for just more DPS. 10 raw materials will be helpful in repairing your armor, but 50 suspicions will be a lot difficult for you to, steal some of the food stuff early game. But warrior and archer are especially effective at the start, so it kind of balances itself out, So that's why it's number 2. It's really not bad. It's actually pretty good. But let's get into number 1, and it is the only one that's left. Apprentice friends looking for an adventure. Here you have 1 swordsman, 1 archer, 1 ranger, and 1 brute. You also get 30 more influence, but 5 less raw materials. The reason why it's so good, it's a very well balanced and it's great for newer players. You have well-rounded strengths in virtually every area because you have your swordsman, who could be a bit more damage or tank, same with brute, ranger, and archer. And the 30 influence early game is pretty good since you can use it to hire an additional companion right away, allowing you to party to grow a little bit more, allowing you to cover a little bit more area, But that's why it's good. Minus raw materials is bad, but you can make it up decently easy, pretty well. That's why it's good, because you have just so well watched that, and influence will allow you to get your 5th member, your 6th member a lot easier. So we're gonna pick, just for the sake of the video, we're gonna pick, just the apprentice looking for friends. We're not making a new campaign, we're just doing it. The next thing is your companions are used to long walks, cutting fighters, slow or show incredible resilience, or excellent at slap games, excellent or quick learners. So the least amazing one is probably quick learner. Experience gain from for each profession increased by 10. Some of the professions are harder to learn or reach that master level, but it's not that amazing because those professions are a little lackluster in my opinion. Like the woodsman, the bard, they're not as great. That's a little harder to get a miner. It's not super bad, but I wouldn't pick it, Another thing, number 4 would be cunning fighters. Experience gain from combat increased by 10%, same with influence. Combat doesn't give you much XP and influence, so getting that over some other bonuses is not great, especially since later you can get training them, which will increase your XP gain just tremendously during rest. That's why it's number 4. It's not as great, but it's better than quick learners. Number 3 would be your constitution, right? The reason why it's here, constitution increased by 10%, is because it's yes, it makes you tankier, which is good, but it's not as good as some of the other 2 bonuses, and it's gonna be hugely used for your pure tank, which is not gonna be all your character. That's why it's not as good, right? Be number 3 in my opinion. Number 2 would be our used to long walks. Reduces speed at which troops fatigue stack by 10%. The reason why it's number 2, because the fatigue is when you need to rest, so allowing you to reduce that speed will allow you to traverse more before you need to rest, use your food, use your gold to pay your wages, stuff like that. It's good, right? But number 1 in my favorite is, excellent slap games. Critical damage increased by 10%. The reason why is all your characters are going to be doing damage, and they might get lucky and do a crit, especially for characters who are built with a lot of damage and a lot of crit. Doing that 10% more damage will allow you to get rid of the big enemies faster or go through their armor, stuff like that. And it's more universal since everybody will benefit from it, which is why it's number 1. Excellent slap games, my favorite choice. So we'll take with that. Now we go to a flaw. If they had a flaw, it would be a somewhat meek appearance, general dissatisfaction, an uncommon amount of bad luck, a very hard time getting up, or a serious lack of self-confidence. Well, the worst one probably would be, where is it at? I would say an uncommon bad luck, because reducing your crit hit by 3 might not seem like a lot, but when you're only starting with 30%, reducing it by 10% overall, so it'll be reduced by 3. Go from 30 to 27, just 10% of, well, 3 is 10% of 30. But reducing that is not gonna allow you to hit your crit. It's not the worst, but it's pretty bad. Another really bad one, the number 4 would be Eternal Satisfaction. Reduces troop happiness by 1 during each rest. You can counterbalance it, so it's not super bad, but getting that -1 happiness is bad because your troops are not going to be satisfied and will lead to a lot of bad stuff. Right? Another bad thing is a very hard time getting up. Danger during rest increased by 10%. Might not seem bad, but when you have to rest, when unfortunately you just have to rest in the time where your danger meter is already high, at 50, 60, 70, 80%, getting that additional 10 might push it to where you get attacked by a big pack or a bad enemy, and you don't want to get attacked during the rest because, well, you get debuffs. Okay, number 3. Number 2, in terms of bad one, is serious lack of self-confidence, which reduces your willpower by 1, which might not seem bad, but you want to get your willpower to 15, to where if your enemy or if your companion is about to die, instead of dying, you use willpower so he has time to get away. Which is why it's not super bad, but it is bad, and you can easily counterbalance it by just putting an additional point of willpower. But the best one to pick would be each companion carrier capacity decreased by 1, which is a somewhat meek appearance. You can easily balance it out with get another horse, or there's some equipment that can get it, which is not super bad. Each companion carrier capacity decreased by 1 is probably the best flaw you can get. So yeah, let's pick that. For your exploration mode, there's 2: adaptive exploration and region-locked exploration. For newer players, I would suggest adaptive exploration because you'll be able to visit all the regions to where they all scale to your level. So if you progress super fast through a first region, you can go to a different region and it's not gonna go skyrocket in terms of difficulty. So you'll be able to just explore and do more stuff and learn the game a little bit better. But if you want to have a bit more challenge, is region locked exploration, where each region has its own difficulty from the start. So if you complete the starting region, the easy region, super easy, and you go into a really hard region, you're not gonna have a good time. You're gonna have to farm up a lot of experience, a lot of gear, so it's gonna slow down your progress. If you opt for challenge, definitely pick region lock. But if you want to explore and just have a decent time, have a good time, do a depth exploration, especially if you want to learn the game. So that's what we're gonna pick. For difficulty, also for region, you can pick whatever you want. Probably the easiest one is Totron County. County of Arthas I wouldn't pick. Vertus Province I wouldn't pick. This Children is probably the easiest one. For combat difficulty, you can change it anytime. If you're an experienced player or want a challenge, obviously go for harder. But for newer players learning the game and want to figure out how to play it and just not have a hard time, I'll pick Novices. Again, you can change it at any time. For save mode, just free. Now here comes your 4 characters, right? We're gonna start with the easiest one to classify as a pony. You can change the name, you can change the appearance, that's up to you. But for starting skills, it only has 1. But we're not gonna use it as a battle pony, we're gonna use it just as the carry pony. So for traits, you definitely want to go with stocky, so your carry capacity increased by 3, which will counteract your meek appearance, where it decreases by 1. Another one, believe it's where's it at? Brawny. I think Constitution gives you the stuff. And for negative trait, you do not want gluten. You do not want them consume more food. That's bad. Club-footed, not super bad. A drunkard, definitely don't pick, because consuming alcohol with every meal to be happy is gonna just not be great. But probably depressed or club-footed. I will go with depressed for just reduce willpower since we're not going to use the pony in a fight. Let's use your archer. Again, you can pick their appearances, whatever, all that. For starting weapon, it's going to have just only 1 bow. For utility, we're not going to pick run, we're not going to pick first aid, we're going to pick aim to gain deafness. It's going to consume 1 valor point, but it's going to increase your range of next attack by twice, which will double it, and precision hands. Huge thing. For traits, you want to go Bloodthirsty for more crit hit. And then for another buff is Dexterity. Since it's Dexterity based character, getting your Dexterity higher will be more damage. For negative trait, Glutton is not bad. Extra food not good. Lazy, earn 20% less profession. It's not bad, but you don't want to really pick it. Stupid is probably the best. Gain 5% less experience. Since you're already earning so little experience, that 5% is not going to hugely matter. Scrawny, reduce constitution, not great, because we don't want to make ourselves weaker. Loafer to reduce capacity by 3, not great. Depressed willpower, no, because you want to get to 15. And drunkard must consume alcohol with every meal, definitely not great. So you go with stupid. For your brute, starting weapon, it's up to you, but I would definitely not recommend ram because it's in the area, so it's AoE attack. Definitely gonna go with pound, you know. For utility, obviously go with Wrath to where you can deal more. You can deal damage if the target has 50% or has less than 50% HP, which is good. So you get the enemy to like 2 HP, and with Wrath you'll be able to finish it off. Now for traits, Bloodthirsty, and we go with where's it at? Strong, more strength, and Bloodthirsty for more damage. So it's gonna be a bit of a mix of DPS with tankiness. And for negative trait, we're gonna go with stupid. For our ranger, again, your basic stuff. For stunning weapons, only has 1. For utility, Wrath again. Positive trait, Bloodthirsty, and nimble. And for debuff, we're gonna go stupid. He is the dexterity based character, so anything that gives us dexterity is good for him. It's gonna be our quick DPS. For our other swordsman, or for our swordsman, not for other, you can go with cleave, but that's not great because it's AoE. I go with slice. This person, so you have a sword and shield, so you're a bit more tanky. And for utility, again, Wrath. But traits Bloodthirsty and strong, because more damage and tankiness. And for our debuff, it is less experience. So that's pretty much how I build my characters. I'm having a good time, and then from there you just start and begin your campaign. But that is it for your best starting options, your best starting stuff. With that said, I hope you enjoyed it, and remember, if we can get to 500 subscribers by November 12th, which is 2 days away, we'll be doing a $25 gift card giveaway. But with that said, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to stay awesome. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.